I get Erev Shabbos, everybody. Welcome to Jerry's Parsha Ponderings for Parsha Shlach. A wonderful time to start up again. So, welcome. Let's take a look at a couple of points in order to really understand Parshat Shlach and really understand what the Torah is trying to tell us. We have to go back a parsha to Parshat Bahalotcha. And in Parshat Bahalotcha, I think that's where they're up to in Chutz La'aretz now, right? In the middle of Parshat Bahalotcha, we have the famous upside-down Nunim, right? And the famous upside-down Nunim start at Shishi, and it starts as follows. Vayhi ben Sa'aron vayomer Moshe, Kuma Hashem v'yafutzo oivecha v'yanusu misanecha mipanecha, uvenuchi amar shuva Adonai rivavos alfei Yisrael. And another closed nun. What's going on here? So, of course, there are a lot of famous Mefarshim, not the least of which is the Klei Yakar, who says that this is a Sefer Bifnei Atzmo. What does that mean, a Sefer Bifnei Atzmo? Are there 5 books of the Torah? Are there 7 books of the Torah? We know there are 5, but this is telling us a very deep message. And I heard from no less than the great Rav Steve Przansky, who says that the Nunim are indicative of a nefilah, a falling. And we know in Ashrei there's no nun. It skips nun and it goes Somech Hashem l'chol hanoflim. The nun is indicative of a nefilah. What was the nefilah? What happened? What happened? And if you look on this slide that I dug up, it says, Madua l'chet ha'egel hayta kapara l'chet ha'meraglim lo. We were never fully forgiven for the chet ha'meraglim. We're still suffering today. The 2,000 years of galus that we just went through was because of the chet ha'meraglim. And the answer is because we never really were metaken the chet ha'meraglim. So let's go back to Bahalotcha and see what happened. Right after the Nunim, the pasuk starts, the beginning of Perek Yud Aleph and Bahalotcha, Vayehi ha'am kimit onenim ra be'enei Hashem, Vayishma Hashem vayichar apo, etc., etc. The people were kimit onenim ra. Vus meint, as we say in Spanish, vus meint kimit onenim ra. So say, the people were complaining. Vayam mit onenim. What's kimit onenim ra? So we have to take a look. The people, they just left Har Sinai. They went from the 49th level of Tumah to the highest level of Kedusha. They're marching. It's 11, 12 days something to Eretz Yisrael by foot from Har Sinai, whether it's in the Sinai, whether it's in Saudi Arabia, who knows, who cares, doesn't really matter. But the point is, they're marching with Moshe Rabbeinu in front of them. They've got everything taken care of. Man is falling from the heaven, and they're on their way to Eretz Yisrael. What are you complaining about? Kamiton and Imra. They complained for nothing. They didn't like the mun. It was, but the mun, we know, tasted like anything you wanted. You wanted a reserve cut. You want Wall Street Grill, Gavaldic. You want my favorite dessert company. Whatever you want, it's there. What's there to complain about? So, what Rav Prus says is that this Sefer should have been it. This should have been Devarim. Right? That's it. Vayhi ben Sa'aron vayomer Moshe. The Aaron went up, they walked, they marched into Eretz Yisrael. Tamatekis. That's it. End of the story. They came out of Egypt, Red Sea, plagues, boom, bah. The 10 Commandments, the famous sound and light show. On we go to Eretz Yisrael. But no, we had to kvetch. We had to kvetch. And from that led to the Chet HaMeraglim. What was the Chet HaMeraglim? We know the story. The spies went, right? They're too hard. Grasshopper syndrome, right? It said that we were in their eyes like grasshoppers, and so we were in our own eyes. They didn't have the right courage, the right emunah to go up and conquer the land. And for that, they were punished. For that, they were punished. This is a sin that we're still dealing with today. If you don't believe me, you know where to look. But this is a sin. It's a sin that we still have not rectified, which is why we're still suffering today. It's why we don't have the Beit HaMikdash today. Rav Przansky said that Rav Kook spoke about this, and he said, listen, why were so many Gedolei Torah against the establishment? Forget the part about whether they weren't from the people who weren't from built by a Sheni. So they came back from Bavel. Who came back from Bavel? We see Talmud Bavli stayed in Bavel. That's one of the reasons we were not matake in the Chet HaMeraglim. When Rav Yochanan asked Vespasian for Yavne v'chachameha, why didn't he ask for the Beit HaMikdash? Okay, it was a machlokes, Rav Yochanan, Rav Yossi. Whatever. It happened the way it had to happen. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't learn from it. We have to learn from it. We can't keep making the same mistake. And we're making the same mistake. And the Torah itself in Parshat in Sefer Bamidbar, in this week's Parsha, shows it all starts with this, what's the word? Kafui Tov. This idea of not being grateful for what you have. You're all right. You just got the Torah. You were chosen by God. You chose to be chosen. Nasa v'nishma. What is there to complain about? Think of where we are today. 75 years. Some of the Gedolim said that Eretz Yisrael, the modern state, wouldn't last 5 years for this reason of the Lari. Okay, then they pushed it off to 10 years. And then the 6-Day War, for sure they were going to finish Hitler's job. And you see, we never should have gone back there because Ola B'choma, then that whole, whatever it is, I got it, thing that has no basis in halacha whatsoever, right? And what happened in the 6-Day War? A miracle not less than Kriyat Yamsuf. Probably the greatest miracle, other than the establishment of the state, that has ever happened to Am Yisrael since Maimed Har Sinai. Without a question. Without a question. Yet we're making the same mistake. So, as we learn this week's Parsha, and we read about the Chet HaMeraglim, let's all think, what are we complaining about? I was in the state, I was in Israel. I lived here for 4 years back in the 1980s. My wife and I met in Bar Ilan University. We went back to the States to get married. We were going to stay a year and come back. That was a 21-year-long year. It's a very, very big Yetzer Hara, Chutz La'aretz. Very big Yetzer Hara. Well, I spend as much time there as I do in Israel, maybe more, for Parnasa reasons. Okay, but my idea was to get my kids here so that I can be matake in whatever small way. I can be matake in the Chet HaMeraglim. I think everybody needs to do the same thing. If you're not living in Israel now, get yourself a place. Get something. Get a foothold. You don't think you're going to be able to come? Teach your children. Get your generations here. Get your chain. A chain is as strong as its weakest link. We know the dangers of Chutz La'aretz. We know the dangers. Just look at the assimilation rate. Look at the intermarriage rate. You don't need me. Google works for you too, right? GIYF, Google is your friend. Look at the numbers. What's going on here today in Eretz Yisrael? There's the thing with the judicial reform. These people want it. These people don't. I think a lot of it just comes down to fear of the religion. They're afraid that we'll legislate religion. No one's going to legislate religion, but the bottom line is that, listen, we got the numbers. 1.2 kids versus in a small, in a modern dati le'umi 4, 5. In the Haredi world, Baruch Hashem, 14, 22. Right, so the numbers are here. We can be matake in the Chet HaMeraglim. Get something, get your kids here, do something. Don't kvetch. Look where we were 80 years ago. Look where we are today. 75 years. First they said it wouldn't last 5, then 10, then the 6-Day War, then the Yom Kippur War. Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem. What a wonderful time we're living in. Appreciate everything that you have. Thank Hashem. Why is the first thing we say in the morning, Modani lefanecha? We have to be grateful for what we have. We have to appreciate the fact that we have a state, that we have an army. We have our own army. We haven't had our own army since, what, Bayer Srisha? I mean, we are considered one of the top 5 militaries in the world. I just read an article that puts Israel number 2 behind the United States. What's there not to be grateful for? Come home, people. Let's finish this sin the way we finished the sin of the golden calf. Baruch Hashem, you don't have today Yidden or Oivdei Avodah Zarah, unless you consider a smartphone Avodah Zarah, maybe, I don't know. But we can be metakein this sin as well. Shabbos Makar HaBracha. Let us have an absolutely wonderful Shabbos. Don't roll, as I always say. Enjoy time with the family, talk about the Parsha, and let's continue to learn Torah together. Come home to Eretz Yisrael and be metakein, the Chet HaMeraglim. Agit and Shabbos, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend.